Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to Heart-Centered Money Conversations. We're very happy to be back here with you. How are you doing? If you've been experiencing this entire series that we've been doing, we are currently on episode 11, which is just like so mind-blowing. So if you've been catching the previous ones, we'd love to hear how everything's been going. Let us know in the comments. Or maybe you've just caught one or two of the episodes. There's lots of other episodes back there that you can really check out that have so much value. So please go do that. But without further ado, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Laura Plahuta, and I'm the founder of Reignite Your Soul Energetic Alignment Coach. And we have Kristen Maybe here, who is a financial coach here in Ontario. And we've linked arms for this series. And today's episode is going to be for you if you are currently experiencing any physical or mental disabilities. And this may include anxiety, depression, or any other mental or emotional experiences that you're kind of going through right now. So don't count yourself out on this episode. And it may also be a great one to share with anybody that you know that is experiencing this, because I know I've moved through a lot of stuff in my lifetime that I wish that I knew about this stuff while I was moving through that, because it very well could be very supportive for many people. Also, for this episode, Kristen's going to be talking specifically about a specific account called the RDSP account, where you may be eligible for up to $90,000 in grants and bonds here in Canada to help you to move through those experiences, or somebody that you know. So it's really an episode that's really going to potentially set a lot of people up to have a more secure long-term financial future. So I'm very excited to be kind of putting this episode out there, and excited to allow whoever needs to hear this this information to really be able to receive it. So if that is for you or somebody you know, please stick around. And just briefly, before we kind of dive into this episode, I'm just going to touch on a few of the episodes from the past few weeks. So you can go check those out if this doesn't resonate with you. The last one we did was all about realigning your spending habits with your values. So really being able to have that long-term vision that you have, having those spending habits that you are currently making now, aligning with where you see yourself going, whether that's with your physical health, whether that's with your mental health, your emotional health, whether that is with certain goals that you have. So it's a really amazing episode. And then Kristen also does one on budgeting made simple, which was just an incredible episode where she shares an incredible document that you can print off for free and really go through and have a really amazing overview of your budgeting, have a strategy so you can achieve your goals. So some really awesome episodes there. So without further ado, Kristen, I'll let you take it away for the RDSP one today.
I'm so excited, Laura. Thank you for that beautiful introduction.
Welcome.
This episode is going to be so valuable, and it's something that I really try to share and put out there because so many people don't know about this program. So, if I told you that you can get $90,000 in government grants, you'd probably want to know about it, right? And like Laura said, don't count yourself out because I have so many clients that you might think that they weren't eligible for, but they actually were. So stick around and get all the information, soak it in. And like Laura said, if it isn't for you, you likely know somebody who can value for this. So share it with them. So I want to share with this because 80% of the people that are eligible for this program don't even know that it exists, which is huge, right? And I think that because there's such a large amount of money on the line in terms of grants and bonds, it's probably why they don't, make it this big known thing. And it's because they're like, oh, that's a lot of money that we're giving out. That's my guess. I'm sure maybe there's other reasons, bad advertising. I know not all advisors do RDSPs as well because they can be a more complicated account. But that's why, like, I know I've specialized this in our office. Anytime there's an RDSP, like, Kristen, can you help me with this? Right? Because it takes some time to learn the ins and outs of these programs and how they work. So I want to dive in a little bit deeper about RDSP. So what is an RDSP, first of all? An RDSP is a registered disability savings plan. So it's an account meant for somebody who has a disability, and that can be like something that's a mental disability or a physical disability. We know that we can't see all kinds of disabilities. And some examples of that are somebody with anxiety or depression, or I have a client who has MS, I have a client who is blind, I have clients with all different things. So some are more severe than others. And it just really depends on your current situation, like your situation and how that works. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be for you, it could be a family member as well, which is really interesting. So you could say, well, maybe my son has a disability, or I'm a caregiver of somebody with a disability. This could be a really good program for them as well.
Mhm.
So don't count yourself out, like I mentioned, especially because so many people have more mental disabilities now than ever before, right? Even when we look at autism, like there's such a spectrum of autism. And, if you're on that spectrum, it's likely that you're able to be eligible for this kind of an account.
So cool.
And so I want to dive deeper into how does the account actually work?
Before you
So,
do, Kristen, one thing that
yeah.
one of the first questions that I asked you was, does it have to be something that actually takes you from not being able to work for this?
Oh, yeah.
And I would
Good
love for you to kind of
question.
just bring that up and mention what you had shared with me, because I think that may be something that a lot of people may just be like, okay, no, it isn't for me because of XYZ, that this really does open up a lot of doors for more people.
That's right. So the RDSP doesn't necessarily mean that you can't work or you can't live a normal life. One of my clients runs a business, but it's just something that you have doctor records of, for example. Like maybe you're taking medication for depression or something along those lines. That's pretty much what it looks like. And I'll kind of get into the more details of that in terms of discovering, what is eligible and what isn't, but it doesn't mean that it's something that you're in depression, you're not talking to anyone. Because I know people like that as well, but they're introverts and they kind of stick to themselves and it really affects their day-to-day life.
Mhm.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that. So no matter where you are, it mostly goes based off of having medical records. So I hope that helps.
For sure. Yeah, no, thank you.
That's a great question. So the RDSP is meant to be more of a long-term account, and I'll kind of dive into the details of that. And what it looks like is you can get bonds and grants. So how that works is I want to talk about the bonds first, because to me, they're the most exciting. So bonds are solely based off of your income. You don't necessarily have to put money into this account to get money from the government into the account, which is really exciting because some of my clients that are on this program, they're not working. It is something that affects their day-to-day life and they're not able to work. So having a program where you can get grants and bonds based off of your income or if you're working or not could be really beneficial. And if you are working, don't count yourself out because you're still eligible for that too. It's such a wide range. So with the bonds, how it works is for every year, they put $1,000 into the account. So up to 20 years. So $20,000, which is really exciting. And this is if your income is below 35,000. These numbers are constantly changing. If you're not watching this in 2024, go check the numbers. I'm going to link below the website so you can get up to date numbers. They change every single year. And if your income is between 35,000 and just over 53,000, you just get a portion of that. So it just, again, it depends on your income, which is really exciting. And because they're constantly growing, and let's be real, our incomes don't grow that much, unfortunately, on a yearly basis, means that as these numbers keep growing, more and more people are eligible for these bonds, which is kind of cool. And so the one good thing about the bonds and the grants is that you can backdate them. And this is why I love this program so much. Because Laura, if you said to me that, I have this disability and I've had it for the last 15 years, I say, okay, well, Laura, we can actually backdate it for 10 years. So even though you weren't in the account, you don't have to miss out on that money, which is really exciting. So sometimes when I open the accounts for clients, they actually get $10,000 put into the account right away. So I have this client that's literally what happened. We put $10,000 in the account through these bonds right away, and then we invested it and it grew. So in a really short time period, she had $16,000 in the account within, I think it was a year or two, and she hadn't put any of her own money in. Say 16,000 of free money, which
Yeah.
is huge, right? That could really make a difference for people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love the fact that they backdate these because really they don't have to. There's some other accounts that we talk about where they don't backdate. So it's a really big beneficial factor of this. And so the next thing that I want to talk about is the grants. And so with the grants, it's a little bit different. So you can get up to $90,000 in government grants through the RDSP program. And again, it's based off your income, but the difference is it's based off how much money you put into the account. And I should specify, it doesn't necessarily have to be you contributing. It could be a grandparent, family member, it could be a gift from somebody, money going into your account. Right? So again, it's based off of income, but for the majority, for every dollar that goes into your account, the government gives you $300. Sorry. For every dollar that goes into your account, the government gives you $3. So on the first $500 that you put in, the government gives you $1,500. So now you have $2,000 in the account based off the grants. And that can go up and up, right? So if you're maxing these out every single year, you can get a ton of free money, up to $3,500 per year from the government. And again, the grants, you can backdate them. So there's a schedule that you can follow to backdate and catch up on those grants that you may have missed from previous years when you didn't have the account, which is really exciting.
Incredible.
And even if you're like, my income is huge, I'm a business owner. Well, anything over $106,000, they still match it dollar for dollar. So even if you think about a group RSP plan, for example, and your employer matches it, it's kind of the same idea. They match dollar for dollar. So if you put in $1,000, they put in $1,000. You just want to know what the maximum amount is that they're going to match because you want to maximize the program. But because this is meant for a long-term account, you might not want to put, $10,000 in if they're not going to match $10,000 right away. You got to know the rules around it. I just want to give you a brief overview. Like I said, it's a little bit of a complicated program, but it's so valuable and so many more people are eligible for it than know about it.
For sure, yeah.
So that's one thing that I wanted to look at. And I wanted to look at a little bit more in terms of how does this affect your government income? Say you're on ODSP or Ontario Works. How does it affect those different things? The really cool thing is it doesn't.
That's
And
incredible.
this is one thing that a lot of people, especially if you're on these programs, if you're making income, typically they give you less. But with this program, it doesn't affect Ontario Works, ODSP, it doesn't affect CPP, GIS, old age security. So basically, those are like retirement savings and then other government supplements that you might be getting.
Can we
So
just
it
put the
doesn't
word
affect.
huge in the comments if this is like, if you're seeing how huge this is? Put the word huge in the
Yes.
comments. That's wild.
Yes, honestly, it is huge
Yeah.
because a lot of the times when we're worried about it affecting these other government things, so we don't want to counterbalance that. We're like,
Yeah.
well, if I'm going to get money here, but I'm not going to get money here, like why bother? But it's not. You can get both,
Yeah.
right? And so this account can be really, really valuable for people. And I wanted to kind of give you an example. I'm really glad you mentioned that at literally the perfect time.
I
So
also have
I
a
wanted
question
to
for
give,
you. So whenever
yeah.
you're ready, you let me know and I have a question for you.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Just go.
You want
Yeah.
to go now?
Yeah, just go.
Yeah. With everything that you just shared as well, that still works, say, if you have a child and you can open up this account for your child, right? Because I have a really good friend of mine that I feel like this may be, well, I have a few friends that I'm actually going to send this episode to that I feel could really value from it. So this does
Mm,
also work where she could set this up for her child. And is there an age, because he's 6 now, is there an
yeah.
age that like they have to be a child in order to?
No, as far as I know, they like any age they can do it. I know for life insurance, the child has to be 14 days old. There might be some kind of restriction like this. I've never done this for a newborn. But so there might be some kind of restriction like that, but definitely 6 years old, absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah, as yeah.
Okay.
And so the other good thing, I'm really glad you mentioned that, Laura, because one thing to note is it is household income. So if you're setting up for a child, you're looking at both spouses if there's two spouses in the picture,
Cool.
right? But yeah, it's huge because it doesn't have to be you. It could be somebody that you know. And I know a lot of children with autism that are eligible for this kind of program, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, we're jumping back to huge. Ready for this?
Let's go. Bring it on.
Okay. So if you backdate the bonds and they put $10,000 into your account right away, what if I invested this $10,000 and got it to grow over this time period? Say you were only 30 years old when you did this and you let it grow for another 30 years until you were 60 years old. You would have a 60,226 dollars. So let's call it, $60,000 in
Put the
this
word
account,
huge back in the comments.
right? You would have $60,000 in this account and you literally put none of your own money in it. It's
Wow.
it's crazy. It's mind-blowing to me. And so this is one of the reasons that I absolutely love this account because it's not just about the government money, but it's what can that grow to over a time period. So I mentioned long term multiple times. So like, Kristen, tell me more about that. I want to understand that. So when I talk about long term, this account is set up more as a long term account. It's not like put $10,000 in today from bonds, take it out tomorrow. It's not what we're doing. So the government money has to be in there for 10 years before you can take that money out. But so how it works is if you get $1,000 every year, it's 10 years from the last year that money gets put into that account, right? So say you were getting it for 20 years, then in the 30th year is when you can take the money out. And that's why we're looking at long term.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can take money out, but they claw back. They're like, well, I'm not giving you money for nothing, right? So they do claw back for every dollar you take out, they take back $3. So it's best just to leave it in, like set it and
They're
forget it.
generous, but they still want their money.
Yeah, exactly. So it's more of like a set it and forget it kind of account. Like set it up, get your bonds every single year, and just let it roll for a long period of time.
And at the
So
end of the day, it's still way more than what you would have had originally. So even if they're going to be sticking their little claws back in there to take a little bit more out, hey, it is what it is.
honestly, like exactly. And I'm like, even if it was $500, I'd be like, let me
Totally.
have
Yeah.
it. Right?
Maybe just as they're taking it out, have a few grumbles and then
Yeah.
get over it.
Yeah. So it's huge. And the benefit of this account is that it's the growth, right? Say they only ever put $10,000 in, but then you grew it to that $60,000. It's $50,000 just in growth, which
Yeah,
is
it's huge.
huge, right? So, okay, so you have to have the money in for a 10-year period, and then you have to start withdrawing it at age 60. So this program is best for people that are under the age of 49 because that's when you stop getting those bonds and grants. December 31st of the year that you turn 49, because it needs 10 years for that to mature before you can start to take money out. So I have some clients that are 48 right now. I have a couple clients actually, and we're like rushing to get this done because we want to make sure that they can get all that they can before they turn 49 or 50 essentially because it's the year that you turn 49. So it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean like when you turn 49 that's it. It's like you can keep going through the rest of that year.
Yeah, cool.
So I want to talk about how can you access this plan. And to have this plan, there's a few things to be eligible. Obviously, having some kind of disability is a factor. It's a registered disability savings plan. And again, there's so many different things that count. So if you're not sure, you might as well give it a shot and see what happens. You literally have nothing to lose. One is you have to be less than 60 years of age. So you can open this account between 49 and 60, but you're not going to get those grants and the bonds. And in my opinion, I would just put that money into a tax-free savings account or something like that where you have more access to it. You have to be a Canadian resident with a social insurance number. But the biggest one is you have to have, it's called a disability tax credit. And again, a lot of people are like, what the heck is that? What is the disability tax credit? We're going to call it a DTC, right? So the disability tax credit is basically a form that you get your doctor to fill out because they have all your medical information. And then you send that to the CRA and the CRA processes it. As soon as you have the disability tax credit, then you're eligible for the RDSP account. And so that's kind of what it looks like in terms of those steps. I always say if you're going to have your doctor fill this form out, is sometimes the doctor will mail it in for you. I always say take it from the doctor, mail it yourself, or you can actually do it online now, which is really exciting because we used to have to mail everything. And just because sometimes doctors have a lot of paperwork and it's something that's so important. This piece of paper is worth $90,000 to you. You don't want it to get lost. The disability tax credit, it can also backdate. So maybe you get a few $1,000s back from the disability tax credit as well because you were eligible for it for the last 10 years, which is really exciting because then you can just take that money, put it into your RDSP, and for every $1 you put in, they give you $3, right? So it
For
can
that
really
for that
help that
specific
cycle.
tax credit too, could you be able to put that into, say, a more accessible account as well? Say like a tax-free savings account invested in there so you have more access to it as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the disability tax credit, the money you get back, it's kind of like a tax return. It is a tax
Yeah,
essentially,
that's what I was
right?
thinking. Yeah.
So you can literally do anything that you want. You could put it into a first home savings account, right? Like there's so many options for it. And again, you don't necessarily have to be the one with a disability. So say you're a caregiver of somebody and they're the one that the account is going to be open for, or they're going to have the disability tax credit, you can transfer the disability tax credit to the caregiver because the person with the disability might not have any income and it might not be beneficial to them, but the person taking care of them has income and they would get the credit. So again, it's just learning all of these ins and outs. I'm not an accountant, so if you want more information about the disability tax credit, that's an accountant kind of thing. But essentially, I tell my clients, I'm like, just get your doctor to fill it out, send it to the CRA, and sometimes the CRA will say that you're not eligible, and then if you send it in again, they'll accept it. So even if you get rejected the first time, which I've never seen, but I've heard about, that you might still be eligible. You just got to try again. Because again, they're giving out a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to make sure they're like
Yeah,
exactly
resilient you
who's
are.
getting. Yeah. So this program is honestly one of my favorite things to teach about because so many people don't know about the disability tax credit and the registered disability savings plan, but there's so much free money out there that we need to educate people about it. So again, if you know somebody who could value from this,
Mhm.
send this video to them. If you need help to navigate the ins and outs, because this is a really big picture video today, because there is a lot of complexities with this program. And again, not all advisors do it. Feel free, just shoot me a DM, shoot me a message, or a comment, or whatever that looks like on YouTube. And I can help you through that process because it's honestly it's so worth it. I've helped so many clients, and a lot of my clients they just put in that amount, so they just put in the bonds and they don't put any of their own money in. Or I have another presentation I talk about what if you only did $25 a month? How would that grow? Because remember, if you put in $25 a month, the government puts in $75. It's $100 every single month, right? It doesn't have to be a large amount to be able to capitalize on that.
Huge.
So I obviously get really excited about this program because so many people don't know about it. But in a nutshell, that's all about the RDSP. And even if, like I said, even if you don't know if you would be eligible for this, it honestly doesn't hurt to try.
Mhm.
So I'm going to give you a few actionable steps. Is send this video to anybody you know who might be able to utilize this program,
Yeah.
or maybe they know somebody, right? I know somebody whose daughter this, right? Send it to the right people, because like we mentioned, is those people might not find this video and get this information. So we really appreciate it. We just really want to get this information out. The next one is comment RDSP below if you want some more information about it, and I can connect with you one-on-one, because obviously everybody's situation is a little bit different. I'm
Mhm.
going to link for you the information about the grants and the bonds. I'm also going to link for you the form for the disability tax credit. It's all through the government website. It's tons of information on the website about this. So, do you have any other questions, Laura?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Maybe if everybody just wants to put a big thank you in the chat for Kristen. Like honestly, like it's just amazing when you can really see all of the things that are available. I know there's a lot of things out there. Our governments kind of do wonky things, and we're kind of shitting on them a lot of the time. Excuse my French for the stupid things that they're doing, but we are really like very blessed to be here in Canada with a lot of the resources that we do have access to. And one of the things that the government lacks on is having a system of getting people funneled into these programs. Like
Yeah.
that is a big gap that we see within the governments, is that it's pretty chaotic, and like navigating the systems can be quite challenging for people. So just like big thank you to you for being so
Oh, thank you.
passionate about this and sharing this with people. So yeah, if you want to put a big thank you in the chat. And if you want Kristen to reach
Mm,
out to you, like you said, put RDSP in the comments, and we'll make sure that Kristen reaches out to you
yeah.
to set up a time where you guys can chat more about this. But yeah, huge, huge.
I think I'm really glad you mentioned that, actually. I think it is a lot of just not having the support. Because
Totally.
even like when, say, you're on ODSP and things like that, like typically you have a worker assigned to you, but they're not going to help you with things like this. I've never had one of my clients say, like, oh, somebody help me with that. Like most of my clients are like, what? Can you tell me that again? Why didn't I know about this sooner?
For
That's
sure. Yeah.
that's normally the reaction that I get.
Yes.
So
Or it's like it's a
absolutely.
big expense to have somebody mentor you through that process as well. I know, like with us, we were kind of going through the process of learning the permanent residence for my partner, and like going through that, it's like we had to pay, I think it was like hundred and something dollars for a 15-minute consultation with somebody. Like just to
Wow.
receive like some advice on the best way to navigate this. And like being able to have that access to you for this is just like massive. So definitely
That's
you
actually
guys don't be afraid to reach out.
that's actually a really good point, because there are companies that, in my opinion, take advantage of this situation. I'm sure that maybe their head's in the right spot, but again, it's just my opinion.
Mhm.
But they will help you fill out the disability tax credit form and then take a percentage. But you only fill out your name and address, your SIN number. Like, and then the doctor fills out the rest. So they're really not helping you fill it out. And
Right.
so I'm like, when I help my clients, I'm like, here we go, like 5 minutes filling out your information. Because sometimes my clients, they have a hard time writing, right? So helping them just fill that out. It's not worth, literally, these people can get thousands of dollars from helping fill these forms out. So my opinion is, don't get somebody to help you fill it out, because your doctor is going to do all of the work and fill out the form for you.
Amazing. And then
Yeah.
I guess your role in that would be setting them up with the accounts.
Yeah.
able to do it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So once people get their disability tax credit form, I help them set up the registered disabilities savings account, and we find a place where we can get it to grow so they can get that much more out of it. And that's what we specialize in.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
absolutely.
I
Beautiful.
don't think I have any other questions, Kristen. That's awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the gratitude. Like I said, I just wanted to get the information out there today. So thank you for sitting and following us through this journey. And I'd really love to hear your thoughts and comments, see who you share it with, who's able to benefit, and just really feel into your heart around your finances. And we'll see you on the next episode. And it's going to be all about deep diving into budgeting. Again, it's really juicy.
If you haven't watched the last budgeting one yet, go back and watch that one first, and then be ready in 2 weeks' time. We've got the next budgeting one coming out, and go check out all the other episodes too, all the titles, and see what calls to you, because there's lots of juicy goodness there. But thank you so much,
Absolutely.
Kristen, and thank you everybody who is here with us. We appreciate you, and we will see
Thank
you on the
you.
next episode.
See ya.
Bye, everyone.